The Weedsman Podcast.
ChristopherMedia.net.
At LL Flooring, the sales tax is on us. Save on a beautiful new floor, and we'll cover the sales tax on top of our already low prices. Choose from our wide selection of quality wood and waterproof floors. Plus, we'll cover the sales tax on everything in our stores March 17th through March 23rd. Lumber Liquidators is now LL Flooring. Visit llflooring.com for details. Valid only in New Jersey and only at LL Flooring.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Hey, what's going on?
What are you guys up to?
Oh, a little weed, you know.
It's the Weedsman Podcast Nugget.
Zippity what?
Ready to drop the bass? Let's drop the bass.
Whoop-de-doo. What does it all mean?
All the random stuff that didn't fit in Friday's show you'll find here.
Oh. Okay.
Hey, man. You got a joint?
Got a little bit of refried smell on your boy?
What that mean?
Please, just give me my weed, all right?
Did your Biden check yet?
Yes.
Wow. Good for you. Not me.
Yeah. I got it right away, and it was spent right away.
You're one of those people, huh? Yeah, my buddy, this guy's dad. He goes golfing with us. You know, we go in the simulator in the wintertime till this week. But no, he's like, yeah, I got my stimulus. Like, wow. Glad the people who need them are getting them right away. I mean, he's like 70 and retired.
Yep. Last stimmy went to pay off some of my debt to the IRS, and the rest of that debt was paid off with this one.
There you go.
But I had enough left over to get myself an electronic drum kit. So take that. I mean, Obama never bought me a drum kit.
Right.
No, it's actually a pretty sweet little setup. I've been eyeing these Alesis kits, and they're basically just ripping off the higher end Roland stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's all mesh pads. There's no. Oh. Well, I mean, obviously there's rubber on the cymbal still, but all the drums, all the toms, even they're all mesh pad. So like usually those, you could always get like a $300 electronic kit, but it was a bunch of rubber pads that you'd smack, and it didn't feel like anything.
Yeah.
This actually feels like a decent kit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm impressed by it. It's like $380, and I had a coupon, so I got the thing like less than $320 out the door.
Oh wow!
And I don't even care that it's got the crappiest drum samples in it, because I just MIDI it into my computer, and I'm triggering drums from the Abbey Road studio.
There you go. Exactly. It's just you know what to do with it. It's a portal for you. For some people, it's an end-all, be-all. For you, it's just a portal.
Right. And I can expand it, too. There's a couple extra inputs on the brain, so you can put some extra drums on there, and they have an expansion kit that they intend for you to buy to get an extra tom and an extra cymbal. But I'm looking more at, like, if I like this setup, I'm going to get like a nice Roland snare and pop that in there, and then use the snare pad as an extra tom.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I went through the last time I was playing. When I stopped playing guitar, I'd spent all this money on this brand new head, and then like within 2 years, all the digital modeling technology was like, why the fuck did I buy this head?
Yep.
I should just be plugging this through an interface in my iPad and right into my fucking cabinet. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, and that's the thing that, like, I've always wanted to play drums, and I don't want to do anything serious with it. I just like doing it, But I'm also an audiophile. I'm a musician. I know about tone, and I know what good tone should be, at least in my opinion. And so I'm not going to be satisfied with, like, even your run-of-the-mill $800, quote-unquote beginner kit. Like, that's going to be nothing to me. It's just going to be frustrating. Like, if I was to really get a full drum kit, I'd have to spend a couple grand to get the actual sound that I want, or else I would just never play it. I'm like, that kit sounds like garbage. With this, like, I can make it sound like whatever I want.
Yeah, just think about how far digital technologies come since when we started playing our instruments versus now. My God.
Yeah.
Like remember digital effects in the 90s, or like you could tell.
Oh yeah.
Now, I mean, you're trained. You're Neil Youngs of the world. Can hear that stuff, but I mean now. I mean it's
like maybe, but that's like I bet if you put Neil Young, you put him in the studio, gave him some nice headphones, and said, "Here's 2 tracks, one DI'd with software, and the other one on a Marshall stack," he'd be able to tell you. But present him with a fully mixed album where, like, hey, so a lot of this stuff was done with VSTs. Is he going to be able to pick it out? Probably not.
Yeah. Like digital effects used to have a certain tone to them. They no longer have that.
Yeah.
Or it used to be missing something. Used to be missing something in the middle. Used to be missing something off the top. Used to be missing something out of the low end. Not anymore.
A lot of that's just down to the increased sample rates and accuracy of the digital conversion. Mm-hmm. You know, you just don't have the same headroom. Everything that came out of digital used to be like super compressed.
Yeah.
And
tinny.
You know, the high end would be too fragile. Yeah. Exactly.
Like you definitely, you can listen to all genres of rock in the 90s and be like stomp box, amp, digital. Like you could tell what kind of effects they were using.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, that one's the head, that one's a stomp box, that one is that motherfucker bought a Digitech something. Yeah, you could hear that shit.
Yep. And even like when I started working at Guitar Center, that was forever ago. I'm thinking because it was when my daughter, I don't think my daughter was born yet. That was 14 years ago. Anyway, when I started, it was like anything solid state, digital, anything like that was just, that's for practice, that's for beginners. Like nobody was gigging with any of that shit. And, you know, and even as popular as like the Line 6 amps were that had all the modeling and all the digital stuff in, like people loved that, but still just for practice and goofing around. It allowed them to, you know, get a lot of different sounds without having to drop $500 worth of pedals. But now that's completely. You have.
But by the time you left Guitar Center, it was the complete opposite of everything you said.
Absolutely, we saw all this integrated technology. You know, tubes and amps with digital processing and solid state power, and
that I played on a head like that for years. It was the sounds came from a tube, but all the technology was solid state. It was Marshall something. I forget what it was.
And a lot of that stuff was pretty gimmicky. Like,
yeah.
People, when a lot of the stuff started catching on and people liked the idea that they could get, you know, small form factors, they could get smaller heads, smaller preamps in their studio and all that stuff, but they still felt like it wasn't a real piece of gear. And then they're like, oh, well, let's put a tube in the front end. And we'll put a little window in there so you can see it glow. And then you're like, now I'm making music. Right. You see that? Yeah. See that tube lighting up? Yeah. And it was probably giving you worse quality sound than you would if you just had a solid state transistor in there. But, you know, it had that
digital versus analog crowd.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe it did help warm it up, quote unquote, a little bit, but that really wasn't a practical solution.
They're the same people that tell you tape sounds warmer, and it used to. It used to.
Well, yeah.
I think we've crossed that chasm at this point.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's part of it that we'll never get away from because, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but it's going to take a long time to get away from that, from the idea of how music should sound, right? And we're making digital sound a lot better, but it's only because we're looking at what analog was actually doing to the sound and trying to replicate that in a digital realm.
Now am I?
So the reason that your totally Pro Tools mixed album sounds great is because you put a tape emulator on the end of it and it rolled everything off and compressed everything really nicely without squashing it, and it sounds like a rock record, you know?
Well, too, and also I mean, if I'm wrong in this line of thinking, feel free to let me know. But a lot, you know, what did we hear the last couple years? Vinyl has sold the most that it has since the 1990s.
It's continuing. Every year I've seen stories that it's outpacing still other digital media.
But you're hearing that people say the same shit as when it, you know, what vinyl was trendy when we were teenagers, but it was still actually around. Like it was on the tail end of
yeah.
But it just sounds better on vinyl, and it's like great. It's still all fucking made on Pro Tools. It's just pressed on the vinyl,
right?
Like,
well, I remember when CDs came out and they would start putting these codes on there. You'd see, I forget how it went. It was like ADD, DDD. It would show you like what stage. Well, like I said, it would always end in D because you're buying a CD, so the end result is digital. But what it was saying is, and this was brief, I remember a Sting album having it on there, and it was AAD, and it meant that it was recorded in analog, mastered in analog, and didn't go digital until it was mastered for CD. And so that was supposed to be the most sonically pure version, the most pure way to do a digital media.
But but your end processing was still digital. Like
right. It's like saying, yes, I fucked that chick who had AIDS, but I only took my condom off at the last second. Like, I was 99% fucking her with a condom, and then I took it off and I came inside of her.
Yeah, exactly. I only came without the condom on.
Right. So I'm mostly protected, right?
Yeah.
It's just numbers.
Yeah, it's it's the people who... Yeah, okay, so we are in the same line of thinking. It's like, great, yeah, great. I understand you think that sounds better. It was still made digitally. It was it was recorded and edited and mixed down and everything digitally. It was just pressed onto a record. Especially if your band is only like 5 years old that you're listening on the vinyl to.
Yep.
The Weedsman Podcast. ChristopherMedia.net.
At LL Flooring, the sales tax is on us. Save on a beautiful new floor, and we'll cover the sales tax on top of our already low prices. Choose from our wide selection of quality wood and waterproof floors. Plus, we'll cover the sales tax on everything in our stores March 17th through March 23rd. Lumber Liquidators is now LL Flooring. Visit llflooring.com for details. Valid only in New Jersey and only at LL Flooring. At LL Flooring, the sales tax is on us. Save on a beautiful new floor, and we'll cover the sales tax on top of our already low prices. Choose from our wide selection of quality wood and waterproof floors. Plus, we'll cover the sales tax on everything in our stores March 17th through March 23rd. Lumber Liquidators is now LL Flooring. Visit llflooring.com for details. Valid only in New Jersey and only at LL Flooring.
Whatever you're funny, Peacock's got it exclusively. Bears beats The Office on Peacock. Stream every moment from Dunder Mifflin and explore bonus extras and exclusives. Plus, if you're looking for more classic hits, you can stream every episode of Parks and Recreation, 2.5 Men, and every season of SNL. In the mood for something brand new? Check out Peacock's original comedies, The Amber Ruffin Show, and Saved by the Bell. Whether you're craving a new binge or familiar fave, you can find tons of comedy hits on Peacock. Get started for free at peacocktv.com.
ChristopherMedia.net. The Weedsman Podcast.
And yeah, there's still a lot of analog being used, but how it's pretty rare for a band to do full tracking with vocals in a studio anyway, but to also do that to tape, that's pretty expensive. You can run all that and do multiple takes and overdubs into Pro Tools, and then you run your stems out. You go, let's take all the drums, throw them on this 2-inch, and then run it back into Pro Tools just to get that compression. That's what's more happening now. They have a tape up there, and it's really just a temporary place for it to live so that it can be processed by the tape. And then it goes back into Pro Tools, and then they, master it, and everything else is digital.
What we're saying is they're still sucking the soul out of your music. Don't be fooled.
Right, and especially with these new vinyl releases, all this, they're doing a lot of great things with all this remastering, and I think they're going a little bit overboard on everything needs to be remastered. There's been a lot of, like, even now as we're getting older, we see these, 20th anniversary releases of albums. You're like,
dude,
I bought that new. Fuck you.
Well, for starters, that. But also, too, there's been some remasterings that ruined them. I don't know if you heard the remasterings that they did of the Megadeth albums in the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
I did not, but that would be a bad time to remaster.
They fucking ruined them. They made, especially on Sweating or A Countdown to Extinction, the drums sound completely fucking different. They tried to make them sound bigger. No, that's not a big drum album. That whole the way that album was produced, everything was fucking super tight. The guitar sound was tight. The drum sound was tight. No, they ruined it.
And that tightness and actually making sure that, like, I haven't heard the remasters, but I'm definitely familiar with the originals.
I think they've since remastered the remasters and made them sound normal again, but
yeah, probably undid it. And probably, if it was around 2000, what they were probably doing is over compressing to try and get it to compete with the Limp Bizkit stuff that was on the radio.
Oh, I know.
They were doing side by side sonic comparisons and going, this Iron Maiden Megadeth track sounds really thin. But to me, what it always sounded like, that it did sound compartmentalized. Like so
when I discovered metal, that I wore that cassette out. That's one of them that, like, when I did my paper route, that was in constant rotate. Like, hearing that snare with an echo throughout that entire album, like, what are you doing? That's not how this album sounded. No.
Right.
Just sometimes they think they're helping when they remaster stuff, and they're not.
Well, the thing is that most remasters are not, the task isn't taken on with any kind of history or preservation in mind. It's more that it's really just for sales, so we want to be able to sell a new copy to me, who already owns that album on CD and vinyl, and we want to, get it out there, and we also want to, maybe we can get some radio play off of this. And if we do, we want to make sure that it's going to sonically stand up against everything else that's out there, all this modern music. And those are all poor reasons to remaster anything. If you're going to take on the task of remastering something, then you're saying, like, not just the end result, but the core of this recording is essential, and there's history here, right? And if we don't preserve it now, we may not have a chance to. Tape is a volatile medium, and it's not going to last forever. And besides the tapes that have just fallen apart, we've had studio fires and theft, floods, all types of things that have made these original recordings lost forever. Now, if you're talking about
somebody outbid you,
yeah, right. So, if you're going to be taking on the task of going, let's preserve the best possible, version of these original tapes for history, and also remaster it, that's the right way to do it. More of a preservation sense than a reimagining even. Sometimes it's just like, take the Zack Snyder movie that's coming out this weekend, for example. That's pretty much a remastering, but they're going back and going, like, we had a different vision for this. There's some remasters that are like, well, take Let It Be Naked, for
I was
example.
literally just about to say that. Yeah, like,
so. Is Let It Be Naked a better product than Let It Be?
No.
Because
we're not hearing those.
Not.
That album came out 10 plus years ago. We're not hearing those versions being beaten to our skulls.
Exactly. And it's too late, right? Now, if they were released at the same time side by side, I still think Let It Be would be more popular than Let It Be Naked. It would still sound like the demo sessions versions of Let It Be.
Yeah, unfortunately, Phil Spector versions are burned in our brains, boys.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah,
exactly. It will never replace what is in our heads.
For what it's worth, Paul, I hate the long and winding road too.
Well, yeah, but that's just a dumb song.
Yeah.
But I don't think of that as a bad remastering job or a bad project. I'm like, if you feel like that there's something to be gained to representing a piece of art, yeah, I'm fine for that. But just trying to put a fresh new coat of paint on it so that it looks attractive to a younger audience, no.
I mean,
like those. I hope that you're preserving the original, because eventually, soon, we're going to want that version back again.
Well, like, I understood it in the 90s, right? Because that's really when like digital recording showed up. I understood it doing it to things that came out in the 70s, to things like Dark Side of the Moon, to things like the Led Zeppelin catalog, to albums I fucking hated like Rumors, but understood it. Like, it's the technology changed, just from just a basic bitch standpoint of it could sound louder now, right?
Right.
But
I think those seem to all that conversion was done with an idea of purity. Let's preserve the sound and quality of the original recording, and let's just update it for digital.
Yes, it was more
not that, we have all these new tools now, and hey, we can bring up this guitar part that nobody's ever heard before. Well, leave it. Yeah, it's buried in there for a reason.
Yeah, when they first started doing it in the 90s to the classic rock stuff, it was more for exactly what you just said. Here's how it would have sound made with today's equipment. We're not touching the mix.
Yes.
Just here's it was mastered through analog equipment 20 fucking years ago. Here's what it sounds like mastered through digital equipment. We didn't touch anything else. These are still the same tracks they recorded. We're just that kind of remastering I was down with. Well, when it turns into I'm in a studio and masturbating, look what I can do. Fuck that shit. You are fucking with the integrity of the original recordings. Get that shit out of here.
Yep. Yeah, there's
Countdown to Extinction.
There's a new version, a remastered version of Superchunk's first album, which is not a well-recorded album. It was, when they had absolutely no money, and it was probably all done on a 4-track in their basement, and it's a great little punk album, and it's got Slack Motherfucker on it.
But at the same time, too, you can only go so far if the source recordings are shit.
Right. Well, the remastered version is like, it sounds over compressed. It's got too much bass in it. I mean, yes, the original recording is way too thin. You can barely hear the bass in that mix. But again, it's too late. Like, that's Superchunk's first album. I don't need to hear a great recorded version of Slack Motherfucker. I have the original shitty, sounds like a demo, and that's the one that I love.
Yeah, like if somebody tried to... I can't even think of if somebody tried to do that to the Velvet Underground and Nico. You can't rip an MP3 out of a computer and throw it somewhere. I'd be like, what are you doing? Like the whole, they started indie. One album started indie. Don't do that. Yeah. But again, I'm getting mad at a hypothetical situation that hasn't happened.
Indie and proto-punk. I mean, the whole idea of not only that we're just going to make whatever music we want to, but we're going to do it in any way that we can.
Yes. Or DIY came from. It kind of all led to this. Well, now, when we started, we were like punk rock radio. Now, if you kind of read where radio's going and where podcasting is going, all of the money is the tide has turned advertising wise. I've had my toe back in the radio industry for a couple of years now. In the last couple of years, what do we say on our regiment? Well, we say it on here too. Follow the money. All the money is heading towards podcasting now.
That's where all the advertising's going.
Yeah. And COVID did not help.
Yeah, radio is going to be like watching basic cable TV in the 90s at 3 a.m. That's the type of ads that you're going to see.
Yeah, I mean,
appear on radio.
You know what saved radio this past year? The election. If the election didn't happen, man, I don't. Yeah, Because literally, I mean, my radio position got eliminated because ad dollars went away. That's how you get paid. That's literally where the money comes to pay you from in radio.
Yep.
And that's what happened in the fall. Is you're hearing about everybody's great third and fourth quarters. Yeah, because the election was there, shitting money into everybody's fucking bank accounts.
But what's interesting about podcasting is that it's not even really just one thing anymore. It's not like all of podcasting is going to replace radio. There's going to be some major podcast players that steal a lot of advertising dollars from those major radio markets, but there's still plenty of super popular non-ad based podcasts that are just solely funded through Patreon, done as a hobby, or whatever.
Streaming has killed music radio. I mean, that unless, to me, the only relevant music radio anymore is current music, right? I mean, still streaming can even, but it's still considered a source for it, and really, it's something that moves in real time. Whereas, like, what boggles my mind is catalog music stations now. Like, what are you offering that Spotify doesn't? A chance to hear fucking 15 minutes of commercials every hour? Like,
how could you even compete? I mean, you're trying to make a playlist that will satisfy thousands and thousands, millions, hopefully, of customers.
Yeah, like,
versus Spotify has a plan to just go, oh, you like these artists? Here you go. Here's your playlist. You can listen all day to fucking Jason Mraz or whatever the fuck you like.
Yeah, like once the boomers die, like that's going to be it for catalog music radio. Like that's who catalog music radio is for at this point in time. It is for baby boomers who grew up listening to the radio.
Pretty much anything that's not on an on-demand basis is boomer-based. Like Gen X is already on to, we want everything now. Like, we wanted everything now when we couldn't get it now. So,
although I'm like, I told you, I've gone back to TV. I've been finding myself watching Comedy Central a lot lately. And it's just because they do all the work. Like, I don't have to find something to watch. Oh, cool, The Office is already on. And then like, oh, cool, South Park's going to be on after it. And then they're playing Step Brothers. Cool. I don't have to find shit to watch. Like, a whole bunch of shit I want to watch is going to be on right in a row.
I'll still appreciate a well cultivated and presented experience. They're so far and few between.
Yeah, but back to radio versus podcasting. So yeah, music radio done. That's current based, and yet so now it's just it's all. This is where talk radio is go. This is where personality radios went. Right. It's
what happens at AM then?
And the money show. I believe last year was the first year that a manufacturer started making a car without an AM tuner.
Oh, damn.
No, radio's problem was, I feel like I've gone on this rant a million times, they have viewed the internet as something as competition rather than something that can be used to deliver their product. And now it's too fucking late. I read an article on LinkedIn yesterday, and I usually don't reply to stuff on LinkedIn, but there's some guy, and he's got gray hair, so he's a boomer. In the article, he talked about what we do can never be replaced. And it was a story about, how they got the community to rally around something for somebody during COVID or some, touchy-feely, warm your heart bullshit. But I'd reply like, yes, what you can do can be replaced. The technology behind...
What you did. There's many platforms that could replace what you did.
Well, I just explained the technology side, like dynamic ad insertion. Spots can be inserted into your stuff based on where the person is listening from. If they can do it with commercials, what the hell makes you think they can't do it with jocks? They're going to start doing it with jocks. Yeah, you can totally sound local and not be there. Hey, guess what? I do it every fucking day. I talk to people down in Gainesville, Florida, from my basement in Michigan. PlayFMOnline.com, by the way, if you're into that kind of music. Yeah, it's there. Like, and the whole point I made in the article is to bring it around. It's like, look at every form of information technology and entertainment technology. At some point, somebody was saying what we can do cannot be replaced. I bet Ma Bell was saying that in the early 90s.
it's the fallacy of concrete thinking. And in this case, I'm talking about literal concrete because
Yes.
because radio, for some reason, seemed to view itself as a collection of buildings with antennas sticking out of them. And they were locked into that. When what they really are is just a company that presents media, right?
Yes.
And gets advertising dollars based. That's what their business is. Their business isn't we put a guy in a building and we put a long, skinny tower on top of it and we broadcast that. That's your avenue.
Yeah.
That's
You are an
your road.
information and entertainment aggregator and disseminator. That is what
Yeah.
you are.
With a built-in brand. So when a new road opens up, a new superhighway opens up, you just go, oh, we don't drive on that one. We've got these dirt roads that we really like. And all of our customers know the dirt roads. So we're going to stick to the dirt roads. We're not going to take the new freeways that you've built. And every other business was like, all right, we'll take the freeways. You can stick to your back roads if that's what you think is how it should be done. But you're completely misunderstanding. Like, let's say your business was delivering milk, and they open up a freeway near you, and that allows you to get access to a lot more customers. But you'd have to take the freeway, and your business is done on these dirt roads, and you know all the customers there. But then eventually somebody's coming in on that freeway and servicing your customers on those dirt roads.
Yep. Look at the Oscars, right? Netflix, 35 nominations. The Oscars, not the not the Emmys, not the daytime Emmys, the fucking Oscars. How many people, how many movie studios and cable stations and TV stations in 2010s were going, Netflix is doing programming, huh? All digital? And laughed.
And it's not the perfect year to use as an example because, this is a year where most theaters were closed for almost all the time.
Okay, but they did it. They've been doing it with the Emmys for the last 5 years. They
yes,
have far.
No, you're absolutely right.
They have been whooping the net. They have CBS, NBC, and ABC. They've been whooping their ass for at least a half a decade at the Emmys.
Right. This COVID year might be a blip in that if you track that on a graph or awards going to streaming versus traditional movie releases, but it doesn't mean that. Because the theaters open up, that's going to go back down in the favor of traditional releases.
And then even too with the Emmys.
That's going to continue to go up. People are now used to that, if anything.
And then too with the Emmys. Look, there was a year before Netflix started to do it. Remember when HBO started whooping everybody's ass? I'm sure at some point people were like, "Oh, cable, huh?" Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a niche thing. Flash forward to 2006 or 7 when HBO was getting all the Emmy nominations, and NBC, ABC, and whatever the fuck are sitting there going, well, what's going on?
Well, early HBO, that was almost like a class thing, the division, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not that plenty of people, either waited till the shows came out on DVD and rented them or bought them or had friends tape their stuff. Like when I was listening to We Hate Movies and they were talking about watching Sopranos back in the day. And one of them didn't have HBO, and he's like, every Monday morning at school, my friend would be there with, not every, but 8 Mondays out of the year. he would have, a VHS tape of here's this weekend's Sopranos. But mostly, I think that
guy was Netflix before Netflix.
Right.
For one dude.
So I don't know. I thought I had a bigger point here, but yeah, no, I mean, HBO is definitely, I want to say a forerunner, a harbinger, I should say, of what's to come. And not that HBO predicted streaming, it's that HBO's model allowed them to pivot perfectly to streaming because they're already
a channel.
They were already used to handling their business kind of separate. HBO seemed to be always its own little studio, kind of did things different. And that's what allowed us to get, some amazing programming that we wouldn't have seen anywhere else.
That's why we started what we've started. What? We could do all that shit without all the other bullshit? Fucking, essentially the gatekeepers went away and the cost to get in. I mean, why would we I feel like I'm just beating the dead horse here.
Yeah. And to go back to these comparisons to radio, like radio didn't even have any of those problems of having to constantly generate more material or build up a library. All they had to do was basically redirect their stream, right?
Yeah.
You were just shooting it out that way. Just shoot it this way as well, right? just plug in this cable. Just plug in this cable.
I'd been interviewing for program director positions, and I just kept telling guys, and maybe this is why I didn't get the gigs. I said, the antenna should be promoting the internet, and the internet should be promoting the antenna. They should be as one. They should be a symbiotic relationship. If you were listening to me on your radio, I should be sending you to the computer, and vice versa.
Well, going back to Guitar Center too, when I started there, I think when I started, they had already, the parent company had already owned Guitar Center. Well, so it was the Guitar Center stores and Musician's Friend, right? I forget what happened, but one bought the other, or they were both bought up by the same parent or something like that. And so GuitarCenter.com was basically cannibalized out of Musician's Friend.
Dude, I used to lust after things in Musician's Friend when I was a teenager. It was like porn.
So, and same company also owned Music 123. What was the other one? There was like 5 websites that were all basically sourcing from the same warehouse. But when working at the retail level, they were constantly in battle with the website. And these things, this coupon was only, this is an online coupon. We can't honor it at our store and vice versa.
Why? Someone's there to spend money.
Oh, they've got 3 for 2 on drumsticks online. We can't match that. You're going to have to order. Why would you not match that and have them order it offline?
Trust me, I used to deal with it with my old job, dealing with franchisees. Like, someone is here right now wanting to spend money and you're sending them away. Take their fucking money.
Yeah. That was the motto of Guitar Center: get the fucking money.
Yeah.
But they still, even though they tried to drill that into our heads, they still failed. They missed many opportunities. And I've been in a Guitar Center twice this last week. Once to pick up the drum kit that I ordered offline, the second time to get drumsticks and a practice pad.
What's it now, like Amazon with a clerk? It's just some dude in front of a warehouse.
Dude, it's pretty sparse in there. It wasn't a huge, I think what they would call a C-level store, if I remember correctly.
Some guy running a package pickup.
But it's still pretty big. I mean, it's got a full DJ room and live room and the keyboards, the drum room, all that. It's got all the essentials. It's a more open floor plan than they used to be. But there's like 5 guys running that place. And again, it's COVID and everything, and they're not getting a lot of foot traffic.
Dude,
but the writing was already on the wall for this. And not only that, like, the place didn't look like it had been vacuumed in a while. And judging on how little foot traffic I imagine they are having right now, and I was there on a Saturday night, and then today was a Tuesday afternoon, right? So I saw both the busiest and the slowest period. Tuesday afternoon versus Saturday night, that's the biggest for any retail place. That's the biggest swing that you're going to get. I saw the gamut, and it didn't look any different.
I can't remember the last time I was in a Guitar Center, but I know I was in there pre-COVID and definitely post you moving out. So basically sometime between 2017 and now. And I remember my initial thought when I walked in being, what the fuck happened? That was the only feeling I remember. I remember from the last time I was in a Guitar Center.
And I'm a little close to I notice things that others aren't going to, having worked at Guitar Centers for so long. But noticing the carpet, I'm like, I can understand, like, if this is the end of the day on a Saturday, your carpet can get this dirty from all the foot traffic that you get. judging on the foot traffic that you guys have had recently, you haven't vacuumed this thing in a week.
Right. For me, it was more, what happened is I walked in and it was a tumbleweed rolled around. I was like, it was the Guitar Center that I knew was like, there would always be people in there, always someone playing, and you work there. Someone's always trying to play Smoke on the Water, Stairway, some Zeppelin, Smells Like Teen Spirit. All the nothing. Nobody in there, nobody playing anything. Just the people who work there.
They have a lot of signs up for, because Guitar Center is a hands-on place, and that's the only thing that has kept those doors open the last 5 years, is the fact that musicians like to put their hands on the instruments. And
like Wayne. Can I put the Fender back now, Wayne? And they have all these signs that please sterilize your hands before playing the keyboard and all this. And then for the stuff that they have out on display and traditionally, like microphones and headphones, they'll have demo versions of these. And it's not really feasible to clean those every night either. Or every night, like every time somebody used them. So they didn't take them off display. They left them out, but they're shrink wrapped. What?
Yeah. So they're just like literally just shrink. They just took a shrink wrap bag and a hot air gun and just shrink wrapped it.
I shrink wrapped a pie today.
I mean, it doesn't really sell it. I don't know. Like for headphones, it's the worst. I mean, you're better off looking at the box if you want to figure out what those headphones are like.
Never tried headphones before I bought them.
At LL Flooring, the sales tax is on us. Save on a beautiful new floor, and we'll cover the sales tax on top of our already low prices. Choose from our wide selection of quality wood and waterproof floors. Plus, we'll cover the sales tax on everything in our stores March 17th through March 23rd. Lumber Liquidators is now LL Flooring. Visit llflooring.com for details. Valid only in New Jersey and only at LL Flooring.
Recruiters, hiring managers, and business owners, reduce your cost per candidate by about 50% by partnering with CareerBuilder. Our technology helps optimize your process and connect you to qualified, diverse candidates at every stage of the hiring funnel. From your job posting to automatic candidate engagement and one-click apply. CareerBuilder Talent Acquisition Suite. Software packed with talent. Visit hiring.careerbuilder.com/recruit.
The Weedsman Podcast.
ChristopherMedia.net.